We'll understand the basic public key cryptography using Batman and Joker. So the first session is about understanding public key cryptography. The next session is about understanding how digital signature works. Then we will delve into one of the use case, how end-to-end encryption works. I want to talk about DigiNotar Hack case that happened in 2011, and then we'll wrap up the session with some thoughts on future of cryptography. So on that note, let's start. All right, let's start with a joke actually. So there was a professor when he was presenting his lecture. After making every point, he was asking, "Is there any question? Is there any doubt?" And he didn't wait for audience to respond, and he continuously presented his lecture, and he kept saying, "Any question, any doubt?" And after 1 hour, when he finally asked, "Is there any question? Is there any doubt?" So one student raised his hand and he said, "I don't have any question, but I have a lot of doubts." So I'm just trying to avoid that. I hope you have a lot of good questions. You can reach out to me via email if you don't have enough time, but hopefully no doubts. So on that note, so Batman and Joker, I'm a big believer, and they're my favorite villain and they're my favorite hero. So this is my assumption and this is my theory that so many years back, Batman and Jokers were best buddies. Okay, they were like brothers, and things started going wrong when Catwoman came. It formed a love triangle, and like any other story, it started breaking their friendship, and then they become enemies. Now Catwoman gone, but they remained enemies. Okay, so this is my theory, and after so many years, they have merchandised so many films, so many Batman movies, comics, cartoons. A lot of people have made money, but now here is my attempt with artistic attempt to establish friendship. But the problem is, if they are friends again, it's going to be a little bit embarrassed for them because there is so much hype in Hollywood, also in India as well, when we talk about all these Marvel heroes or DC comics, that they are a little bit ashamed if they become friends again. So they want to exchange the message secretively. Okay. So we are going to understand in three levels. I have got three versions of how cryptography works between Batman and Joker. So let's understand with kid version first of all. So here is the Batman, and he likes drinking green tea, and sometimes he put mint in his tea. That's very important part. I will come to that later. But as of now, just remember, Batman loves green tea with pinch of mint. On the other side, Joker is a coffee fan, and whenever he gets coffee, he has this special steel or metal spoon. He would stir with that spoon, and then he'll have some taste of the froth before he starts drinking. That's his style. And we are going to use this tea and coffee to exchange the secret message. All right. So first Batman says that's Batman's message he wants to send to Joker. But as I told, it has to be secret. So Batman's message is, "Hi, want to go for a movie?" And what he will do is he will put that message into Batman's coffee. So as of now, just note that this tea and coffee is available to everybody. Anybody can see the tea, anybody can see the coffee, but not the mint and metal spoon. Batman will put the message into Joker's coffee, and it becomes something like this. When Batman gets the message, yeah, so what I was mentioning is that the tea and coffee is available to everybody in the public, but not the mint and steel spoon. So mint and steel spoons are private stuff, but coffee and tea is available to public. So when Batman put the message into coffee, it becomes like this. And when Joker received this message, nobody can take the message out. He can only take the message from his coffee because he got the special steel spoon. And then he reads the message, "Hi, want to go for movie?" This is the Batman's message. And now he wants to respond to Batman. So what he does is he replies that, "How about Superman this Friday 8 p.m.?" And he put this message into Batman's tea. It becomes like this. And when Batman received this message, nobody can take this message out until you put. So when Batman received this message, he put the mint in his tea and he get the message. So this is Joker's message, right? And now he replies, "All right, now great, wear Superman mask." And the same process will repeat now. He keep putting message into Joker's coffee. Joker will receive message after stirring the coffee with metal spoon, and Joker keep putting his message into Batman tea, and Batman will keep taking out the message using his special mint. This is the cryptography in a nutshell from Keith's version, but there is one problem. Here, let's introduce new character, Riddler. So this is the new character, Riddler. What happens if Joker put the message into Batman's tea, but in the middle, Riddler will take the cup. Now he's got the staff, kind of a stick. He's trying to take out the message, but nothing will come out. Why? Because he doesn't drink tea. Put this way, it's not his cup of tea, right? From metaphor point of view. So he drinks beer. So that's why he says, "I can't do anything. There's something inside this tea, but I can't see anything." And then he doesn't have any choice, but Batman says, "That's mine." And then he put the mint and he take the message out. So we'll understand who is this character in the later slide. Now let's raise the level. We'll understand same scenario from professional lens now. So what I just explained, the tea and coffee is nothing but your public and private key. So think your green tea, which is available to everybody, is your public key, which is Batman's public key. The mint is private key that you don't share with anybody. Similarly, Joker's public key is coffee and his private key is steel spoon. That means you can show your public key on the internet domain or to anybody so they can send you the message, but you never ever share your private key. So from cryptography, there are three main types that you need to remember. One is the symmetric cryptography. Second one is asymmetric. And third one is hash functions that will come to later when we understand more about digital signature. I will explain you now what's symmetric cryptography. So think of this one dice or one key. So let's say last time when you were sharing a room with your roommate, you just have one lock and one key and you were sharing. So that's nothing but symmetric cryptography. You use one key for lock and use same key for unlock. Okay. So when you want to send a message, let's say, "Hi, you want to go for a movie," that's a plain text. And when you apply secret key, that's encryption, which becomes a cipher text here. And when you apply the same key for decryption, it turns back to the plain text. So basically you use one key for encryption and decryption. So what you're achieving with symmetric cryptography is confidentiality, nothing else. You cannot achieve other things like integrity, non-repudiation, or authentication. For that, you have to consider asymmetric cryptography. So what we understand with Batman and Joker and with coffee and tea, that was asymmetric cryptography. Now, let's understand asymmetric cryptography from professional point of view. So when Batman was putting message into coffee cup, what he was doing is he was encrypting his message with Joker's. The beauty about cryptography is once Batman encrypt his message, even he cannot decrypt it. That is the beauty of cryptography. And now only Joker can decrypt because Batman doesn't have the steel spoon. That means Batman doesn't have the private key. And as I mentioned here, this jigsaw, this represents how they are bind. It's a key pair. They are not separate. So if you are creating your own public private key pair, they are binded. That means when Batman encrypt the message, only Joker can decrypt with his steel spoon. So what are the key concepts here for asymmetric cryptography? As I mentioned, it's a public private key pair. They are not separate. Public key is available for anyone. You can share your public key. There is no harm in that. The important thing is you have to store your private key. Now you might ask, what if I lose my private key? Then you're gone, because if anybody who has your private key, they can decrypt your message. Think like you're losing your mint or steel spoon out of your lock, then anybody can unlock. And these are the main concept. Batman encrypts his message with Joker's public key. Similarly, Joker encrypts his message with Batman's public key, and Batman decrypts Joker's message with his private key. Okay, and this we can achieve. We can achieve the confidentiality with this one. And as I mentioned here, the beauty of cryptography is once encrypted, even sender cannot decrypt except one condition. Even if I encrypt anything, my wife decrypts it. So there are a few exceptions. If you have girlfriend, boyfriend, or married, if you're married, then remember cryptography doesn't work in all the cases. Okay. So the Riddler I presented earlier is nothing but man in the middle attack. Because when you're trying to send encrypted message, there's always chance that somebody's trying to steal that message and trying to intercept what's happening. So as I mentioned here, the man in the middle attack is trying to decrypt with his own private key, but it won't work because it's not part of the key pair. That's why it will pass to Batman. So everybody who is paying attention here, every party has their own public private key pair, and the most important thing is to keep your private key in the vault. That brings me to the next slide about all right. Now that brings me to the next part, how symmetric and asymmetric cryptography works together. So I have put this title, reading behind the news, because personally I don't read the news, and especially now with AI and social media, it's hard to rely which news are accurate and which one is not. So I spend a lot of time to validate. So I put here like, don't read the news, but if you do, avoid social media, and if you still do, avoid sharing. And because now we are in the age of deep fake, we don't know what's real and what's not real. So anytime I hear the news, I like to spend some time to validate before I spread. But I often tell this to my friends, I don't read news, but I try to understand what's happening behind the browser when we read the news. And that's what we are going to understand. So here, let's say if you're browsing a website, this is my name, hope you're not feeling bored.com, for example. You're trying to access this website, and this website is right side trying to connect using HTTPS connection. So it's trying to connect to a web server. So as I mentioned, this web server or this website has its own public and private key. So what happens? So when you attempt the HTTPS connection, in the response, the web server will send TLS certificate and public key. So browser will get this certificate, and what it does is it's trying to validate whether this certificate is legitimate or not. We'll understand more about the certificate authority hack scenario at the end. But as of now, browser will check, is this certificate expired? Is it still active? It will check which certificate authority has issued the certificate. Think about driving license. Just because you have any type of license doesn't mean you can drive. It has to be authorized government identifier who has validated you that you are eligible to drive. So think from that analogy, and once browser confirm that this certificate is legitimate, it will generate random session key, any key, and that key will be, so when browser generate the random session key, the browser will encrypt this session key with web server's public key, same concept. And now this key is on the web browser side. Web server will decrypt this key using its private key. So what happened here? We started with asymmetric and then we switched to symmetric. Now when browser and web server wants to exchange the message, they will exchange using same key for encryption and decryption. So this is what exactly is happening when you read the news um, behind the browser. All right. So that was my understanding on Joker and Batman with cryptography. We'll have another take shortly, but now let's little bit deviate and understand digital signature. Okay, so what if Batman and Joker wants to exchange the message via old-fashioned postcard? So here Joker is saying Superman movie this Friday, your buddy Joker. He's sending in purple postcard. It's going to post office. Now here at the post office there is a Riddler. He will take the postcard and now he's changing the message. That's why it's showing here green. And instead of Superman, he's changing movie to Barbie. How about we watch Barbie this Friday? Your buddy Joker. So Batman is not sure, but they still meet. You want to imagine the scenario or the fiasco when Joker and Batman meet at Barbie's premiere, and the news was all over the Gotham City, and they decided to reflect. And what they realized was two things. This is, now we want to send the postcard, but let's ensure that the message is coming from each other. That was one thing they realized. And second thing is, no one like Riddler should change the message. So what Joker did, this time he sent the postcard and he also put his fingerprint. And now when Batman got this envelope, he saw there was a purple thumbnail, purple fingerprint. And then he realized that this is from Joker. If it's not purple, that means the message was modified, it was altered. So this was the kids version, but let's understand what's happening professionally with the professional lens. For that, we have to understand the hash functions. So what is hash function? It is just a one-way function. So once you put any value through the hash function, you cannot reverse back. Think about this box. So you can provide different kind of input. So this chicken represents different. You can provide various type of inputs to hash function, but it will produce fixed output. And once you get this output, you cannot go back. So from digital signature point of view, what's happening before you create the digital signature? Whenever you write a message and once you put that through any hash function, like let's say SHA-2, it will create fixed size string. It's called message digest, right? And as I mentioned, Joker will have its own public and private key. When you encrypt this message digest with Joker's private key, it creates digital signature. Now, Joker will send two things to Batman. One is the plain message and one is the message with digital signature, which is encrypted. So when Batman get this message, he's not sure whether it came from Joker, or even if it came from Joker, has anybody modified on the way. So what Batman is doing is he will decrypt this digital signature message with Joker's public key. So this is the main difference between public key cryptography and digital signature. In cryptography, Joker was encrypting message with Batman's public key and Batman was decrypting with his private key. Yep. So in digital signature, message is encrypted with sender's private key, and if you want to decrypt that message, you have to use sender's public key. So when you get that, Batman will calculate with the same hash function and it will produce this message digest and it will compare, because now he has got sample message, plain text message, so he can apply the hash function and then he will compare the message digest that he got from digital signature. So when he decrypt using Joker's public key, he will have this message digest, and from the sample message he can produce another message digest. If it's same, that means the message came from Joker. If it's different, that means it's been tampered. So that's what's happening with digital signature in nutshell. So one thing I mentioned here, what we can achieve with symmetric and hash function is integrity, authentication, non-repudiation. So non-repudiation is one thing. When message digests are same, that means definitely the message came from Joker. Even Joker cannot deny it. So that is what non-repudiation means. So we can achieve confidentiality as well with one more step. So let's go to the next slide. Everything is happening same. So what happens after Joker will encrypt the message digest with his private key? We have got the digital signature. How about you encrypt the entire digital signature with Batman's public key? So now we are going back to the original concept. So till now we have only digital signature where we use Joker's private key, but now on top of that you are applying Batman's public key. And when Batman get that message, first he will decrypt with his private key. Then what he will get is encrypted digital signature that he will decrypt using Joker's public key, and then he will calculate the message. So using this, you can also achieve confidentiality as well. So now this is the third level. Now let's understand this from expert lens. So by the way, this is how public and encrypted private key looks like. Uh, and what we want to understand now is how WhatsApp works. So we will understand few terminologies and few terms before we proceed. WhatsApp use elliptic curve cryptography (ECC). It uses 82 to 56 bit security, and they use various keys. And when we talk about public key, when you think about tea or coffee, it's just one thing, but In reality, there are many public keys. So now we are deep diving into how WhatsApp use end-to-end encryption. So they got identity key pair, which is a long-term key. You can think of like a main public key, which is used for authentication. They also got signed pre-key, which is used for medium term. It's used for speed up the secure session. And also they use short temporary one-time key, which is only used for temporary use and it destroyed itself after the use. Then they got session key types, and there are various keys. We have got root keys which create chain keys, and then chain keys that create message keys, and then message key is the one that literally encrypts your WhatsApp message content. So in this one there are different values. So 80-byte value that is used for encrypting the message. Also there is this value, it's used for hash. Initialization vector is pretty important to understand. So let's say if you are exchanging message with your friend on WhatsApp and you're writing hello, you're getting reply from the other side, then without initialization vector, every encrypted value looks like same. So if hacker gets one value at the rate 123 then kind of he can decrypt what's going on. But with initialization vector, every message will have different encrypted value. Think of that way. So even if one message is compromised, your other message is secure. And the last one is the linking secret key. That will understand how this linking secret key is used when you add another device. It's called companion device. We'll know more about this in coming slide. Usually I this kind of slide put me to sleep easily. I don't personally like these bits and numbers, so I'm more interested to show you the use case. So initially I was a bit skeptical to use WhatsApp when there was no end-to-end encryption. I was using Signal, but now WhatsApp is pretty confident about their end-to-end encryption, but I still got some counter thoughts that I'll share at the end. From the key concept point of view, no one, not even WhatsApp, can read your message. This is little bit ambiguous. I'll come to this sentence at the end. But what they're using is perfect forward secrecy. That means your current keys doesn't reveal any past or future message. Every message has their own key. Asynchronous messaging. That means your messages are encrypted even if the person on the other end is offline. And authentication to make sure that you are talking to the right person. So what's happening? First of all, when you want to send message, when let's say Batman wants to send message to Joker, WhatsApp server WhatsApp server will provide Joker's bundle key. So what do we have in bundle? These three keys that we just understood in the previous slide. It's got his main public key, the sign key for secure session, and some temporary short-term key. Then from this key, it will generate one ephemeral key pair for particular that session. And then it will perform elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman exchanges. And from that value, it will create the master secret. And from that master secret, it will create root and key chain or chain key. So all these steps are part of using for all these 5 steps are used for initializing secure session. And once you have this secure session enabled, which makes sure that you're talking to the right party on the other end, it will get the Joker's public. So what happened at the initial session was asymmetric, and now it will turn into symmetric. So from the root key, it will produce the chain key. As I mentioned in the previous message, these keys are interlinked. So root keys is producing chain keys and chain key is producing message keys. So that's happening here. and this chain key produces the message and key for encrypting each message. So every message you send, there's a different key for encryption. So what happens? This last step is very important. The key chain advances. So when you type a new message, hi there, hello, every time you write a new message, the chain key will advance. That means the old keys are deleted. And that's what it's called perfect forward secrecy. And let's say if your key is stolen, then past message can't be decrypted because there is no key. If there is no key, you can't open the lock. These three steps are happening during the message encryption. So after session initialization, the message and when message gets at the other end, let's say when Joker comes online, there are three more steps happening. WhatsApp delivers Batman's message to Joker, and then Joker will use these keys because he will also get his key to decrypt that message, and it will use the same DH secret derived from the same root key and message key, and he will decrypt the message. So this slide shows what we understood in the first pack, what happens when Batman send message to Joker. This is what's happening from the use case point of view with WhatsApp. And now other stories, I recently got new phone Android. I switched from iPhone, and I always thought that you can only use WhatsApp with active device, and I realized that okay, you can also use to your old phone as well. Even if you don't have SIM card, you have to register as companion device. So there are various methods, but I was interested to learn more about what's happening under the hood. It takes literally 10 seconds. So if you have your primary device, let's say with SIM card, and if you want to add other phone or your laptop where you install your WhatsApp desktop application, it produces or it generates one QR code. All you have to do is from your primary phone, you scan the QR code, and that's it. It takes 10 seconds. What happens when you scan the QR code? That literally blew my mind, and I want to share that. So what's happening is when you scan the code, there are different keys involved. So now you are already familiar with identity key, which is main public key, sign pre key which is used for session, that's used with signature, and also batch of some one time pre keys which are temporary keys. They are all keys bundled and sent to the WhatsApp server. WhatsApp server will store all of the keys from primary device into storage. And now this binding here, as you can see, so primary device, it's creating account signature by signing new device public key. Okay, and on the companion device, it will sign the device signature by signing primary device public key. So it's happening at the both hand. So now we'll understand exactly what's happening when we scan the QR code. So this was just very high level view, but if you look at under the hood, that's your QR code from the companion device or desktop or any other phone or old phone. It will generate QR code, and when you scan, there are two things. One is companion device. Hello, yeah. So when I talk about companion, just keep your old phone or desktop in mind, and when I talk about primary, just keep your main phone with SIM card in mind. That will help you to understand and grasp the concept. So when we scan the QR code, the companion identity public key and linking secret key are extracted. But the thing is, your secret key, which is kind of a private key from the companion device, is never shared on the WhatsApp server. The primary device is only storing the public key. That's why if you recall, on the primary phone, if you link any device, you can also disconnect or you can delete it. That's the whole purpose of this one, because you are just deleting the public key, so you can connect or disconnect. And then it's the first step is the primary device is loads its own identity key pair, plus it's creating linking metadata about the new device, the companion device, and based on that it will update the device data. You might have more than one device that you want to add, and then it will generate the signature, and it applies this curve elliptic cryptography for the account signature to make sure that you're dealing with the right device. And then it will generate the device list signature specifically for that particular device using the same elliptic curve cryptography. In the final step, in the final step, it's preparing the linking data where it's bundle everything, metadata, primary device key, account signature, and it's applying the hash and send to the WhatsApp server. This is just one side of the story, from primary device to WhatsApp server. So this is what primary device is sending to WhatsApp server. It's sending the signed data and HMAC. So WhatsApp server is storing that updated device, whatever you want to add, and it's forwarding that linking data and HMAC to your companion device. And now companion device, how would companion device know that it's coming from the right primary device? So that's why it's verifying the HMAC. It's the same concept that we just understood about the hash function, that message is authentic, that's showing the integrity. Also, it will verify the account signature, that's non-repudiation. That means this request came from the right primary device, non-repudiation. So that way it will save the identity of the primary device. And then it will also sign itself. It will create its own digital signature, and it sends back the identity keys, device metadata, and it's upload on the server. Now WhatsApp server knows what's the primary device and what's the companion device. So this may be complicated to understand, but here's the key takeaway that you can take from the last two slides is that what's the server, the linking secret that you send from companion device, it stays inside the QR code. It's never shared on the server. So when we verify the hash and digital signature, it's ensuring message integrity. Also identity confirmation. Public keys are signed and checked, and secure future messaging. Now, I want to talk about this hack case, but before that, let me share thoughts on WhatsApp, because lately there is a lot of interest from government with WhatsApp about sharing the data, and at some point it's happening, and there are some rumors going on. I was particularly interested in what's happening in India and other part of the world, where government is requesting WhatsApp to hand over the keys for various reasons, in case of national security or digital surveillance or for investigating cyber criminals. Government wants access to WhatsApp message content to know and investigate further. But as of now, I don't think so. With end-to-end encryption, it's possible because these keys are stored on your device, and as long as you are the protector of the key, nobody can decrypt the message, and that's the whole purpose of end-to-end encryption. So, including in Australia, UK, as well as India, there is no law as of now. We are talking that WhatsApp will hand over the keys to government. But if we talk about Russia and China, they have laws, and if they get warrant from the court, then whoever is owning the social media, they can hand over the keys and they can decrypt your message. Having said that, there is still some loopholes, or I shouldn't say loopholes, but there are still some valid reasons government can still get metadata from WhatsApp. So WhatsApp cannot provide the key because they don't have key, but they can provide your metadata that reveals what time did you send the message to whom, also your device location if you have enabled it, and that also includes your Google Maps. If you're sharing Google Maps location using WhatsApp, I was just reading Google is now enabling new feature where you can store your location within the device, not on their server. So that kind of metadata, even including your device information, what kind of device you are using. So all this can be still shared. So that's something to think about if you want to further research on this topic, that how it's going to turn out, whether government will share or not. And one more thing I want to talk about is, in some part of the world, due to terrorism, they also requested WhatsApp to modify their code to introduce backdoor. So if there is any problem or if they suspect any terrorist activity, upon request they can access the backdoor, but that brings a lot of other security vulnerabilities and problems. So something to think about. So what happened in 2011 was this DigiNotar hack. This was Dutch certificate authority. As I told, think of this like RTO in India, or here in Australia we have Vic roads who issue license, so that qualifies you to drive the car. Similarly, this Dutch certificate authority was issuing SSL certificate, and not only to Google but even Microsoft. So browsers like Chrome, Mozilla, Microsoft, they were using their certificates. And in 2011, due to some vulnerability, the hacker got into their 8 servers, and they kept hacking with the lateral movement, and they issued 500 fake certificates. And they didn't only target the browser, even there were some intelligence agency and antivirus providers as well. And the heavy user they target was in Iran, especially Gmail users. If you are into cybersecurity, you might notice the SSL certificate error on your browser. Otherwise, you wouldn't notice. But luckily, one user, Gmail user from Iran, he noticed unusual error and he reported to Google, and that's how they came to know. And then they immediately disqualified and they removed this from the Chrome browser. Some people think that it was intentionally this activity was intentionally done by Iranian government, but that's just a theory. Maybe you want to research more about that. But because Chrome stopped using it, immediately after that Mozilla and Microsoft also deleted that, and soon this entire company just got bankrupt. And that was the debacle. I wanted to bring this to this seminar, not to highlight what happened, but what could have done, because nowadays there is a hardware security module. You can use hardware security module to protect the keys, which is far secure. There are some specifications. So if you are using this with your client, then you can also specify in the contract as well how often they are going to rotate the keys. And if they want to access this module, then they need to take your written consent. It should be part of the contract. One of the main reasons why this hack was successful, because they failed to revoke the certificate. So certification revocation list, and here is a typo, it should be OCSP, online certification service protocol. It helps to check whether certificate is expired or not, but they failed here as well. And also zero trust toward the root CA. So here is my thought: the silence in cybersecurity creates the most noise. Even after knowing something fishy was going on, DigiNotar kept quiet and they didn't notify their regulators and clients about what was going on. So they failed to notify, even they failed for logging point of view. And that's why I say notification and loggings are meditation in cybersecurity. But now things have changed a lot. if you want to issue certificate to Google, you have to go through intense auditing process and continuous monitoring. But this was one of the case that happened, and you may find more details, and maybe you can find out what really happened, how did they get inside the network, something to research about. So we are not far where we'll be also talking about quantum cryptography. So this is just two things that's coming in next 10 years. But I just want to give you or incept you what's quantum cryptography in a very, very layman term. So think like a kid is sending his message to other kid, and inside the lunch box he's putting an ice cube. And if somebody is trying to steal that lunch, as soon as he opens the lunch box and look at the ice cube will melt. Okay. So when that lunchbox goes to other side, the other kid, who was the legitimate receiver, won't see the ice cube. He will just see some water. That shows that the message was tampered or it's not legitimate. So from technical point of view, quantum uses photon in specific direction. So if you're trying to tamper in between in the transit, the photon will change its direction. So there is a claim that this cryptography is impossible to hack, but that's something to learn about in coming years. And what's after quantum? So there is also a term called post quantum cryptography. It's different to quantum cryptography. It's using for those kind of computers. Post quantum cryptography are those computers who are using quantum computer for attacking. So that needs completely different kind of algorithm and mathematical formula. I just want to give this to point on a very high level, and I've got some materials to refer. There is a 60 or 50 or 60 page document if you want to deep dive on WhatsApp encryption review white paper. Just Google this. It shouldn't be difficult to find. Just Google WhatsApp encryption review white paper. You should get PDF. Listen, I got this podcast episode 3 DigiNotar Hack. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. If you search this, you can you can get nice full story about DigiNotar Hack. And also it's from Darknet Diaries. So if you are into war stories, if you're into listening about um, deep diving into different kind of darknet stories, then you can definitely check that podcast. I found this book, Post Quantum Cryptography. It's I haven't read yet. I just got the summary, but it has got 6 different type of quantum cryptography techniques that might be that we might. And this is the movie. If you are into cryptography, that the Imitation Game, it uses some old algorithm that they used during World War I or II. Again, I haven't seen that movie, but it's one of the top recommended movie if you want to delve into how cryptography was used during World War.